to the honey hole, to the hunt, to whatever. What did you just do?
I was trying to scroll. There you go. Sorry.
That's all right.
Control Z is your friend.
If you ever want to piss Josh off, make edits to the document as he's reading.
Good to know.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I never did do it, but I think Tammy was bad about that. Oh, did I do that? Yes, Urkel, you did do that. All right, here we go. Hey, if you're ready for the great outdoors, make sure your truck is too. Ready to haul, ready to tow, and ready to take along everything you need for a day on the water or daybreak in the woods, because no matter what kind of game you're chasing, we say bring it to the honey hole, to the hunt, to whatever you love to do and whatever the outdoor brings your way, because you can't bring home a trophy unless you bring a truck that's got your back. Real Truck, bring your truck to life. I love that. They have really good copy there. So on tonight's episode, nothing. This is going to be like a Seinfeld episode, Steve. It's a show about nothing.
Nothing. There you go.
Steve and I are going to have a chat, which is just perfectly fine. I'm sure you'll find it very entertaining.
I guess Steve-O coming to you from a very hot and steamy Chicago area. Been up in the upper 90s all week, so people are in full blown. The world's coming to an end, but
I'm sure.
Hey, it was 97 on Monday. I was out there in the sun with the no doors and no top and had a blast.
Oh, I bet you it was great. As long as you're moving. When you stop, it can get a little warm really quickly.
Well, when it's 71 degrees in the morning and it's still dark, that's when I love to drive.
Oh, yeah. That would be perfect. You actually can get a little chilly with the wind coming in, can't you?
Not this time, because I'll drive it in the morning when it's 56 degrees in the morning without the doors and top, because I know it's going to be 80s on my way home. But yeah, no, it's just gorgeous.
Jeeps are just such a wonderful thing that you can do that with. I don't think I've had the doors off the Gladiator since we bought it. When we got it, I took all the doors off, and the top has never been off. I mean, the Freedom panels, of course,
sure,
but the main top, that's never been off the Gladiator. And I took all that stuff off and gave the fob to the wife and said, "You guys go drive around." It was May, so it was warm out because we got it in May, and had a good time. Taking the doors off wasn't a big deal, and also too, do you put the little nuts back whenever on the hinges? Yeah, no. I mean, I put them in that nice little place they have for the parts and stuff, and under the seat in the back, and that's where the nuts are too. So. Yeah,
in the JL, it's under the tailgate. You open up the tailgate, it's right there. Amazon actually sells a little cap specifically for the JL JTs that goes onto the threads on the door.
Oh, that's nice. So I've never even noticed it. I mean, it's not like something that's hanging down a long ways or anything.
It's more for if you're constantly taking it in and out, you're protecting that sleeve that's in the hinge more from the threads or from, you're trying to line it up. It helps just guides it smoothly right in.
So somebody built, and I wish I knew, I should have made a note on this, but somebody built a jig that you can put on. Have you seen that thing where you hang it on there and then it lines up the hinges both above and below perfectly?
Yep.
And then the other thing about it is like, okay, now how are you going to get that off there? But it was set up where you could get it off before closing the door. That would be the downside, though. Oh, I'm done. Slam the door. Oh, damn it! Now you got a problem.
Yeah, unfortunately with the JLs, because they got the aluminum skins now. Obviously, the whole paint corrosion was a different issue. They're very easy to get on and off. I see more JLs, JTs with their doors off than I will ever see a JK.
Do you think? I mean, I've seen women do it on Instagram and stuff. Do you think that the weight is different enough where most women can handle picking the doors up? I think getting one door off is not such a big deal. Walking with it and then and especially doing 4, I think you're going to have a break once you're done.
No, I can have them off. Everything said and done, including adding my external mirrors in and my foot pegs in 10 minutes or less.
Oh, exactly. Talking about external mirrors, and this isn't a paid endorsement or anything, but did you see the mirrors from CMM?
I have.
I thought that was a really cool idea, and it's not something that you have to attach on the outside. It attaches there on the inside of the Jeep.
Yeah, I looked at them. I'm not. They're really up. They're up high because they're mounted onto the door frame, the door handles.
Right.
and I wanted something that was
The
more
grab
where,
handles, right? It's
grab
on the-
handles. Yep. I wanted on the A-pillar. I wanted something that's where my mirrors normally are. Right.
Yeah, I can see that.
You got muscle memory. You got your training, and I found their Coyote Lane mirrors, and they're phenomenal. They don't move. They're solid. They mount to the cowl.
Do they vibrate? I hate
No.
the vibrations.
Not at all. And the bracket, there's a little bracket they slide into and they lock into. You pull that last bolt out on the cowl closest to the passenger compartment, and you put a new bolt in, and the bracket stays on there 24/7.
Oh, okay, good. That makes it easier.
Just pop out and in, and like I said, I've got the whole process down to 10 minutes or less.
So the only Jeep we had for the longest time was the XJ, and you ain't taking doors off an XJ, at least not really. If it's a daily driver type thing, you don't want to do that. That's my opinion. So when we got the TJ, oh yeah, doors came off, and driving the TJ without mirrors is interesting because you're talking about muscle memory. If you're checking the mirrors all the time, which you should be, I'm checking them mirrors and I ain't seen no mirrors. What the hell, man?
It's a very different feel.
Yes.
Right. When I first got the Jeep, I was excited. I got to take the doors off. Well, I didn't have the mirrors yet. I hadn't decided what I wanted. And so then you see me, I'm driving down the road. I'm like hanging my head out the door, looking behind me just to make sure, because you're not used to that.
Right. No, it's really cool. And of course, that's one of the fun things. And if you're new to the Jeep world, and of course new to the Jeep Talk Show, and you're here just to find out more about Jeeps, that's one of the things that is really neat about Jeeps is the modifications you can make. There's more than one company that makes side mirrors.
Oh, yeah.
So let me ask you this. I've been picking on Broncos a lot recently. I don't hate Broncos. I just don't see the point when there's Jeeps. It's the same thing for Toyotas and any other off-road vehicle, unless it's a Brodozer, and then those are great for mud. But anyway, what do you think about the Broncos design where they built the mirrors into the body so you can take the doors off and you still have the same mirrors that you've been working with the entire time?
I think that was actually a pretty good idea. Because that's the biggest complaint with people with the Jeeps is the mirrors out there. There's a few of them. The CMM ones are really good. The ones I got are really good, but there's a lot of really crappy ones out there.
Oh yeah. Well, it's price. I mean, the CMM ones.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember what the price was, but just my feel for it was these are really expensive. But a lot of the CMM stuff, it's great quality. But I mean, but if I'm going to get side mirrors that I'm not going to be using that often, do I want to spend more than $20? Well, if you don't want it to vibrate, maybe.
The Broncos, let's face it, they're OEM. They're well designed, just like the Jeep ones are, and they stay with the body of the vehicle. So I can see the appeal to that. I really can.
Well, but it's not as appealing for the aftermarket, because now the aftermarket can't make product for the Bronco. And I think that's one of the cool things about Jeep is there's such a huge aftermarket. And that's why and people cringe. That's why I caution people about Renegades, Compasses, these things that have the Jeep badge. That's fine. You buy it, you enjoy it. I've heard lots of very nice things about the Jeep Compass as far as gas mileage and just creature comforts and stuff, but it's not an off-road Wrangler or Gladiator or CJ even. So the aftermarket to me is what makes Jeep so special, making all those little things. And the cool thing is you see people buying shit that they don't even need. Like, have you ever thought about buying those steps that go on the hinges?
Steps that go on. Oh yeah.
You know, where they fold down.
I have.
I think they're insane. I mean, if you got a pop-up tent or you're carrying luggage up there or something, sure. But these people, it's like the traction boards. People are buying them because they're big and red and they can stick it on their rack that they got on the back of the Gladiator. I
can see those steps. Like, I'm big into canoeing, right?
That's a good reason.
Tying down, because I use my wife's Pathfinder, because I got a soft top on my Jeep, so I don't have a rack. I don't carry my canoe on my Jeep, but I do use the wife's Pathfinder. I find myself standing on the tire in the rear a lot to get the straps tossed over and stuff, where having that would be very beneficial. So I think it really depends on what your usage is with your Jeep.
Oh, of course.
I could see a use for those steps. For me, no, that's not. There's just no need for them.
Have you ever looked into a rack that you can put on, ones that go like attached to the bumper and goes up and over the top of the That way you
Nope.
could still have the soft top, but you'd
I
have a
don't-
place where you could tie the canoe down.
With the lift and the 35s, I only have 1.5 inch clearance getting into the garage as it is. The rack is not going to work.
You need to do a garage lift.
Yeah, no.
Somebody
would-
needs to start
yeah.
an off-road community subdivision, and they make the garages big
garage
enough,
doors, yeah.
where you can actually have a lifted Jeep, and maybe even high enough where you can put a lift in there, so you could work on your Jeep.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong, but the rack is just not in the cards for me.
No, I understand. I was just curious if you had ever thought about that.
I looked at it for about about.
Oh,
10
you have
seconds.
to look, right?
Oh, yeah,
that's
about 10
the
seconds
fun,
and-
the window shopping.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into this. We haven't had we haven't talked about. I don't say we've had reviews, but we haven't talked about a review in a while. And I figured everybody that loves Tony, me, would love this review. And I love the way this thing starts because the title the person picked was Almost There. I love that line from Star Wars where they're making the run down the
the trenches, yes.
the trench. Almost there. Almost, and I'm pretty sure it's Star Wars I'm thinking about. It was either that or a Ron Jeremy movie. I can't remember. It was one of the two.
Oh, for the love of God.
So I'll just read the review and we'll just forget I said that. I want to so badly give the Jeep Talk Show 5 stars, as there is always a ton of good information that goes out. I'm gonna skip this part. No, I'll read it. The problem is the host, Tony, who seems like a really great guy, full of Jeep and off-road knowledge, constantly talks over the host or guests. Unfortunately, it's caused me to only make it through several half episodes before I shut it off and head to a different podcast. Most of the time, it's Tony firing off a question and then letting the guest or co-host get a partial answer out before Tony is interrupting them. My wife has the same problem with me. I'm hoping this is a learning situation that can be fixed, because the show really can be huge for off-roaders, whether Jeepers or owners of the other brands. So, Steve, I think this is just erroneous. Obviously, this is a hit job, a paid review by some other podcast, competing podcast, because I never interrupt.
Maybe our infamous Zoom.
Let me just mention really quick, I never interrupt.
Yeah. It's got to be, yeah. It's interesting. Doing this is not easy, obviously, because we're not face to face. I know. There's challenges to this. I mean, look at the Zoom room. Sometimes it's just, we have to constantly.
Lord. Yes.
I'm guilty of it all the time, because you have a thought. All of a sudden you start talking, but somebody doesn't across the country has a thought.
You can hear people starting 3 and 4 times.
Yes, it's hard. This is very unscripted, right? And a good interview to me is one, if you have the straight canned questions, answers generate new questions, right? Because then a new thought will pop in your head, and well, what about this? Because of the way they answered that, right?
Mm-hmm. I'm restraining myself right now. I've had 3 things to say while you're talking.
It's good. The feedback is always welcome, right? One thing I do is for the show is I'm always in contact with the guest interviewees, and one of the things I said, we're Jeepers, we can handle it. What did you not like? What can we do to improve? Mm-hmm. And fortunately, or unfortunately, we don't get many responses to that part of the question.
Well, no, you don't want to get beat the shit out of verbally. Because it's going to happen. I'm not beating up on this guy. We like reviews, and I love reviews that give us tidbits about how we can improve the show. So this is wonderful.
Yeah. No, hey, we'll take anything. We're desperate. Give us your feedback.
Oh, what's that shirt where they show the guy that's a little ugly, and the shirt says "I fuck on the first date"? I love that. That's us.
Yeah, we have no shame.
No, we take the doors off our Jeeps and drive down the road in a kilt. Hi, Greg.
Oh, geez, Louise. Yeah, no. Put the mouse back in the house. So
I'm just gonna say it. You suspect it. I'm gonna tell you, and when I say you, I'm sure you, Steve, and the listeners, the viewers. I interrupt because I have some damn important stuff to say, It's either
No.
important or it's funny.
No. Don't, not all the time. No, but yeah, you always do that because somebody's talking about something you're energized and engaged in, and then someone says, they say something, you're like, oh, well, you get excited, right? It is what it is.
So do you remember, did you see the Stacey David interview that I did? I reposted it not too long ago.
I saw it was I remember the interview. I listened to it, the original. I didn't watch the video on it.
Well, it's really the audio that I'm talking about. So back when I was recording, I just really started recording the video portion for the show to put up on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And the way I was recording it, I wasn't recording it in a way that I could separate the audio. It was only like one audio stream. And my audio was in a different time sequence than what Stacey David's was. Oh. So I was actually talking over the guest of the show, and I absolutely hated it, but there was no way syncing the audio with my video. There was no way I could put it the way it really was. So I felt bad about that. I mean, not only was I talking over to a guest, all guests are important, but Stacey David has been in, so many things, and to get him on the show and stuff. And I mean, he wasn't hearing me talk over him like the show was, but if this guy was watching that one, I don't blame him, because I was like, I mean, Stacey wouldn't get done with what he was saying, and I was already talking.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's, you got to remember that if you listen, if anybody goes back and listens to episode 1,
it could be worse.
It could be a lot worse. I did that on Moab last year. I started from the beginning, and I was like, all right, I can only handle an hour at a time.
That was a long one too, wasn't it? Because we weren't even doing like 1 hour episodes then. I mean, we had some episodes that were several hours long.
Yeah, and it's like everything else. The technology's gotten better. The streaming technology's gotten better. Think about when Zoom first started, how the delays everybody faced, right? Mm-hmm. And the buffering and all that is part of that, So I think if you're doing them live person on person, it's going to be a completely different experience.
Right. I remember when Josh first joined the show, and my wife would listen to the episodes. I don't think she would listen to the whole thing. I mean, there's just so much Tony you can deal with. And but she mentioned to me, she goes, "You're not letting Josh talk." And I listened to my wife. She said doesn't think so, but I listened to my wife, so I stopped talking so much, stopped being as engaging in the conversation. Of course, Josh ate that up. It's more time for Josh to talk. He loves being the one talking, and Josh knows this. I've told him that. He gives me crap too, so that's fine. But I think that's one of the fun things about Josh and I is that we fight for time to say things on the show because we have so much to say. But anyway, I stopped talking as much, and then I actually had a business do a review of the show because we were trying to improve it. And I will always remember this. When we were going over the review, they asked me, "Is this your show?" I said, "Yes, it is," because they were saying Josh is talking a lot on the show.
Did you share that with him? I would have loved to seen his face.
I probably did. And Josh would go, "Well, yeah, I can do that." And it's wonderful actually having somebody that is so adept at conversation and coming up with things to talk about. It's wonderful. But that's one of the reasons why we get into not verbal fights, but going back and forth on interrupting each other, is because we both have something to say.
And it's because you guys are having fun doing it. You got, it's a natural progression, right? From when he first joined to where you guys got to. It's the comfort level with each other, and that's a great chemistry.
Yes. And the cool thing about it is it's a conversation. And I think that whenever going back to this review, and my opinion is that whenever you don't have a conversation, it's like, I don't know if you play games, but there's like, you can do first person shooters or you can do a RPG and
turn-based.
Yep. Yeah. Turn-based. And that I'm not really comfortable in doing a RPG type of show where, okay, this is my turn. I'm talking. Now it's your turn to talk. And I may have something I want to add or something that I think is hilarious that the audience may agree with. And I don't say it because it's not my turn.
Well, let's face it. At this point in life, if you don't say it right away, 5 seconds later, you forgot what you're going to say.
Oh yeah, yeah. Always go back to the room that you had the thought in. Is what I say.
I will literally do that. I'll walk out of my office. I'll get 10 steps out of my office. I stop and I'm like, damn it. Where was I going and what was I doing? I
think it has to do with deep in thought, because I will be thinking about something else as because multitasking is not real, but you do have a tendency to think ahead, and then you switch over to this thing that you're thinking. And then, I mean, if you're deep into thought, you can forget what the hell you were doing. Yeah. I just hate it when I'm urinating in the bathroom and I walk out, without pulling everything up.
That's when HR reminds you gently.
So, but anyway, back to the review. Thank you very much for the review. I really appreciate the stuff here. But I learned long ago, and this was especially true when Chuck joined the show, because Chuck is very, very vocal, energetic, and uses a lot of profanity. That's who Chuck is, and it's funny. It's interesting, and I faced that with Chuck, and Chuck says, "Well, I probably needed to curtail the 4-letter words and stuff." I said, "Well, no, Chuck, I thought about that. We really enjoy you. We really enjoy who you are on the show. Why would we want you to join the show and be somebody else?"
And Chuck is one of the most genuine people you will ever meet.
Yeah.
And that's his personality. So be it.
And that's what we're selling here, is the entertainment and us, because everybody can do a podcast, and a lot of them are. They may not be doing good podcasts. They may be doing partially good ideas and things here and there. They may get better at it. But the only thing we have unique that you can't find on Google or anywhere else looking up information is who we are and how we do things. So
certainly
it's going, I mean, I'm not going to be the thing that some people want to listen to or watch. And I understand that. It's still great to have the feedback, and I can try to be more mindful of giving everybody the opportunity to speak, and making things better. It's never going to be to the level of what this guy wants.
No, it won't. And that's okay.
Yeah. We're just not going to be for everybody.
No. Why try?
Exactly.
So, yeah. So the interesting thing, shifting topics here, and I just, something on the top of my head, and we're just having an open conversation tonight. So I just got back from a week in Maine. I was absolutely blown away at the amount of TJs I saw up there.
Interesting.
I saw more TJs than I did JLs and JKs. And for a state that gets heavy snowfall and a lot of salt on the roads, I was surprised. So,
oh yeah, I didn't think about that. I wonder how many repairs have been going on to TJ frames and bodies.
The bodies were actually in really good shape, and I hate to say it, one of the best looking ones out there was a red one that I saw. I saw multiple red TJs up there. And so, if you are from the state of Maine and you're listening to us, tell us why you think the TJs are so prevalent.
What's the magic of keeping them whole in a very salt-laden, wintry mix?
I was blown away. And, I mean, listen, they're not using them in the wintertime, but I was seeing TJs everywhere.
That's you, right? You don't take yours out during the winter because you're in the Chicago area?
Yep.
Yeah. So you don't drive yours whenever it's snowing and stuff because you don't want to run the risk of having all that damage.
So you got that cartoon with the mouse and the elephant, right? Where the elephant freaks out over a mouse.
Right.
That's me in the Jeep when I see one of the little piles that get dropped of salt. I'm like, going the other way. Hey. So there's been times I've driven it in the winter.
Yeah. I think you have to, but then you have to go to the trouble of cleaning everything off. And it's worse than mud, I would suspect, because the mud you can see. The salt, you don't know where it went.
Larry, another Jeep Talk Show co-host, we do the subscriptions to the car washes that have the underbody wash, right? Where you pay the monthly fee, and I'm always in there because I didn't have another car at a certain point. So I was driving in the winter the first couple of years. I was in there every week, and right after a snowfall, just getting that undercarriage blasted.
Mm-hmm. Do they go inside the frame? Because, you get those big holes in the frame where a lot of area for salt to get in. One
of the first items I learned about on the Jeep Talk Show was the Black Fork tool, right? The plugs.
I was going to ask you about that, and I was brain farting on the name. Black Fork. Yeah, absolutely.
And I plugged the frame. Now I will pull those plugs off in the summertime or spring. I'll throw the power washer down there, blast it out.
I think you have to.
You do. It's not a plug and forget. It's a, hey, this is going to minimize, but you still got to get in there and blast it out.
I wonder if Jeep paints on the inside of the frames. I bet you they don't, because it's like you got to buy a new Jeep when the frame rots out. It would be nice if they coated it at the
manufactured obsolescence, right?
Exactly. I go back to this all the time. I just love that commercial about the gum that lasts so long. And they were trying to come up with ways of making people spit the gum out so they would buy more gum. Oh, my
God, that's a blast from the past.
Yeah. It's same thing with the Jeeps. I think that's who was it? I was I think it was Jerry Hubbard. I was talking to him, Hubert.
Toledo Jeep.
Yeah, Toledo Jeep. I think it was him or the guy that was with him talking about they got rid of the XJ and the TJ because of the 4.0. It's an engine that goes and goes and goes, and it really there's not a lot of things you have to do to it to keep it going. So they come out with an interference engine, the 3.6, and with the oil not getting to the top of the thing, and the cam phasers go out, and the cam itself. Were you? I think maybe you were on that episode where I said that there was 22,000 3.6 cams on back order because of all the people that need to have that replaced.
Yeah, and I'm just surprised there hasn't been a class action over all that.
Maybe it's working up to it.
It could get there. It's interesting.
I got a call from Kevin Baxter the other day, Baxter Performance, because I had reached out to him whenever I saw that Brad from Trail Recon, 8 days before he was going on his Alaska trip, had this issue with the cam phasers, and a lobe got worn down on the 3.6. So he had no time to wait months for a cam to come into the dealership. It's a warranty item, but he had no time. 31,000 miles. He had no time to wait, so he had it replaced. And I think it was a viewer of his YouTube channel that provided the cam because you couldn't find him, and he was able to get it fixed and ready to go. And I think he's in Alaska now. So,
yeah. Well, the first thing I did when I got back from Maine Saturday night is I wanted to drive my Jeep. It was the evening. It was 95 degrees out by the time I got home, and told the wife, let's go get dinner, right? Because there was nothing in the house. And so we got in the Jeep, and I did the whole, where you put your foot on the brake and the gas, and the engine just cranks.
Yeah.
And she didn't know what was going on. She thought there was something wrong with the Jeep. I said, no, I did this. I said, whenever it sits a while, I do this to cycle the oil through. Now, she's not a car person. She's like,
oh, okay, she'll forget that. And the next time you do it, it's like, what the hell are you doing? Yeah. You have to have an interest in it. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the first thing I did is I let it sit there and I cranked it so that the oil got flowing. And
did you know about that before the Kevin Baxter interview? I did not know about it before he told me. I did not.
That was a wealth of information that worked very, very well for us.
It's really cool.
And our listeners. Yeah.
So anyway, I reached out to Kevin Baxter because I was going to check, and I thought that problem that Brad had would be something that the Baxter Performance oil filter adapter that they sell would help keep from happening. And I wanted to actually get Kevin on and go over it. We hadn't talked to him in a long time anyway, so it's always good to have a good guest back. And I didn't hear back from him, and I went, oh, Kevin hates me. He's not responding to the email. And then he literally called me on the phone to apologize that he saw my email. He wants to come on the show, but he had forgotten about it with everything else going on. So it was really nice to actually get a call and talk to Kevin a little bit. And so I put the Baxter Performance oil filter adapter on my 3.6 at about around 25,000 miles. So I'm hoping that I don't have to go through that situation. And if you guys don't already know about it, that is something that they claim that the Baxter Performance oil filter adapter will fix, because you're keeping oil in the top part of the engine. So when you start it, the top part of the engine doesn't have to wait for the oil pressure to build up and circulate over the cam phasers and the cam and the lifters and all the rest of that stuff.
And it's interesting because you got and Brad, right? He's at 30,000 miles. Roger had it early life of his wife's Jeep. I've got 60,000 in my engine and I don't have any issues. Mm-hmm. Same engine.
No, well, it's like the 3.8s. Remember the 3.8s had severe failures, and then it was traced back to where they were built. And there was 3 places where they built the 3.8 for Jeeps, and one place was a problem. So
Yeah.
you had a 1 in 3 chance of having an issue with the lower end and it using oil, and ultimately having to do quite a bit. I mean, anytime the lower end breaks, it's not a good situation.
Yeah, I have a good friend of mine has the 3.8 in his JK, and when he got it, he got the lifetime warranty, and he has milked that thing for every penny. He goes $100, cam phase, whatever it is, gets done under warranty. Now he's at the point where they can't find parts anymore because it's past the 10 years that's required to be stocking the parts.
And not my problem. I have the warranty.
Well, that's the thing. The last time he was in there for a ticking issue, they said, after this, they're probably going to buy you out of your warranty. They're going to have to, because they can't get the parts anymore.
I wonder what buyout means. I wonder if that is equal to or greater than the warranty that you purchased, because that's kind of cool. And also too, that's a good signal to trade in the Jeep and get a newer one with a new warranty.
Interestingly enough, he just picked up a 2025.
Yeah.
So, but they don't do the lifetime warranties anymore.
Oh,
I think because of the 3.8, they learned that lesson the hard way.
Well, I think the 3.6 is a very good engine. It's not a 4.0, of course, but I think it's a very good engine with that one flaw. Well, there's a couple of flaws. That oil filter thing that's just under the intake, that's made of plastic, that has a tendency to break.
Oil cooler.
Yeah. So, but it's not something that is a major deal. I mean, Chris changed it on his JK right before he traded it in. Which, by the way, did not fix the leak that he had. He thought it was that what'd you say, oil filter cooler or oil cooler, and he replaced it on his JK. Went with the full metal one and everything, and then it was still leaking. So, so it's trade in, and now he's got the Gladiator. He really likes that Gladiator. Anyway, the thing I found was pretty funny. I sent Brad an email, but he's in Alaska. Who knows when he's going to read it. Also, he gets hit up by a lot of people. But I sent him an email telling him about the situation. I heard about his situation about having to have that repair done before going to Alaska. And my God, how great it was that he wasn't in Alaska whenever it started having a problem. And I asked him, I said, do you have a Baxter Performance oil filter adapter on there? Because I was curious to know, especially for myself, if he had one and he still had this problem. Hadn't heard back from him, but I'll talk to Kevin and we'll find out what he thinks as far as if it's 100% or it's just a higher percentage that you won't have issues. There's a lot of things that go into it. Sometimes you can't keep things from happening. Looking forward to talking to Kevin about that. I've got mine on there, so I feel better about it anyway. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I may have been in a situation where it was never going to happen, but
you never know.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point. That makes things fun and exciting too, doesn't it?
It does.
Should you buy a new Jeep Wrangler? After countless adventures behind the wheel of your old Jeep Wrangler, it might finally be time to hang up the keys to your aging Jeep YJ, TJ, or JK for a brand new Wrangler JL. But how can you be sure? Are you willing to trade history for amenities, character for convenience, and the raw Jeep experience for a cushy daily driver? In this article, we're weighing the pros and cons, ditching the beloved Jeep in your driveway for a brand new JL replacement, including the mass amounts of technology, smooth and efficient powertrains, luxurious convenience features, plush ride quality, and the overall driving experience. If you're on the fence about upgrading, stay tuned to see what you could be missing out on. So you can read this article, this blog post over at realtruck.com. Just go to realtruck.com/blog and search for should you buy a new Jeep Wrangler. And a little side note, get you a new Jeep Wrangler, either a JL or a Gladiator. I love my Gladiator, but keep the old Jeep. never sell a Jeep, I say.
So hot off the press yesterday, drive.com released an article about the new Jeep Cherokee. So
they're going back to the XJ design?
Yes and no. Looking at it, the biggest thing they're talking about is how big it is inside, bigger. From the initial, they don't have the dimensions released yet. Jeep did release a YouTube 37-second YouTube where it shows, and I don't know if you've seen lately in social media where it shows like how something evolves, right? They show the original Cherokee, then layers peel back, and the new one appears where it keeps driving down the road, kind of thing. So it's pretty cool. But looking at the pictures, the biggest thing I noticed is I don't think it's going to be as off-road capable as the new XJ. And the reason being, or the original XJ is being, looking at the wheel wells, because they have literally up an XJ on top and the new one on the bottom. They don't have the letters yet. But you look at the wheel wells. The clearance around the wheel wells are very tight on this new model.
Well, that's all about airflow, isn't it? And which goes into MPG.
Yeah, but you're not going to be putting bigger tires easily on this without, some serious modifications.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest thing that I'm seeing right there is just the clearance in the wheel wells.
Oh, speaking of cars with lifted and big tires, did you see the drawing? I know that you were kind of in and out on the round table this past Tuesday. Did you see the drawing that Greg had of the AMC Eagle? Because he had done a design. Wasn't that a cool looking vehicle?
Yeah, I see those every once in a while around here. They're very, very rare.
Yeah.
Well, of course, being up here, that you got to remember that was back in the rust days of AMC, right? And being in the Chicago area, you're just not going to find them.
Yeah. So. They knew how to stop things from rusting back then. But then again, that's that planned obsolescence thing, and it saves you a nickel. So we ain't going to rust-proof stuff. Well,
it also comes down to the whole, supply chain. Now, if you can rust-proof the vehicle, but now you're spending money for the vehicles going out to areas that don't need it, right? Or do you have to have now separate models just for specific areas? And I think that's a huge expense.
Doesn't most of the world need protection from rust? I mean, Arizona, California,
Oklahoma is good.
Yeah, Texas. I mean, Southeast Texas anyway.
And Tennessee areas, those areas aren't too bad. It really depends. But again, you start adding variation into your product line, and it gets expensive, especially if they don't need it in that area, right? So
I remember back in the late 70s, early 80s, rust proofing.
Rusty Jones.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, you could take your vehicle and get the liner put on it, whatever it was called. Basically, I think it was probably the beginning of Rhino Liner. Where you could go to the thing and get your bed Rhino lined. Yeah. I bet you that came from that, or somebody thought about it. Sure. They would rust proof, because it was so sad to see a brand new, or not brand new, but a newish Chevrolet pickup truck with the wheel, the fenders rusting badly. Mm-hmm. And it was just so sad. And I didn't have my 83 Chevrolet short wheelbase 4-wheel drive very long, but so it never rusted. And I don't remember if they had that on there from the dealership or not. And a lot of dealerships were doing that. That they would upsell you because they had the liner on there. So.
And the square bodies around here those are getting very, very, very rare. Right? They just don't last.
If I had a lot of money, I would find me an 83 Chevy short wheelbase 4-wheel drive. I would talk Greg into it, send it up there to let him, is it retro mod or resto mod? And because it was a pile of shit. The axles may have been okay, I'm not sure, but the transmission, shit. The 305 that was in it, shit. So replace the engine, the transmission, the transfer case, and probably the axles as well, and put it on like 44s or something. Oh, that would be so much fun just to cruise around in. I mean, I wouldn't be taking it to Moab or anything like that. That's a Jeep area, but just cruising around in the Brodozer, level Brodozer.
Yes.
Because I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that 83 truck with all the problems it had.
For me, it would be the 80s Bronco, right? The O.J. Simpson model, as I call it, which was based off the F-150 frame, I believe. And that was just a beautiful truck.
It really was. And you could remove the back, the
back
top
half,
of it.
Yes. Yeah, they were gorgeous.
You could do the same thing with a Blazer. I was always torn.
Chimneys, yeah.
I was always torn between the Blazer and the Bronco.
What was it? The Ram Charger was the Dodge version?
I'm not sure. Oh, there was there was. You're right. There was a Ram equivalent. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if the actual top was off. You used to see them when we would cruise around on Friday and Saturday nights. You would see the 4-wheel drives, whether it be the Toyotas or the
pickup trucks and tube tops.
The OJ machines, and then you would also see the top off. And I can't. Yeah. I mean, that is cool, riding around with the top off. And you know what? Now that I think about it, I never saw many Jeeps. That's so strange. I mean, I've been a Jeep fan forever, and I don't ever remember seeing a lot of Jeeps. But the Broncos, the Blazers with the tops off, and a bunch of youngins in the back. I mean, when I say youngins, people that were my age. Yeah. 17, 16, 17, 18-year-olds. Yeah.
Well, no, those were the things to have back then. That was status.
Yeah.
Right.
I would like. I think it would be really fun to be able to go back in time, occupy the same body that you have, but have all the knowledge and stuff that you have now, and see it from your eyes, your older eyes, and better appreciate what it was that you were paying attention to that you didn't pay attention to back when you were 16, 17, 18 years old.
Oh, sure. Right. You let's face it, when you're 16, 17, you were focused on more of the other gender. At least I was.
Right.
Right. And it was all about the fumes, the perfume and the gasoline.
Oh, gasoline smelled good back then. That unleaded stuff.
And Broncos, those Broncos and Blazers were very sexy. I mean, they were just beautiful.
Could you imagine seeing like movie grade new? Because they were. I mean, and there was always little issues with things. Of course, they were used, but they were a lot newer. And just going back and seeing the vehicles, especially on Friday, Saturday nights, where everybody had them all polished up and shiny. I'd like to see some of the cars too.
On TV, most of the shows were based around the cars, right? You had the General Lee, you had the Fall Guy truck, the A-Team van, right? The Daisy's Jeep on two. I mean, they were such iconic vehicles in these shows.
You didn't live through the van thing, the custom vans. That was a big deal back when I was young.
We had a full-size conversion van when I was growing up.
Did you? But was it no windows and had the mural on the side, and
it did not have the fishbowl,
bed in the back, and
the fishbowl window right
in
the back corner? Yeah, no, that was a little.
I think that was around 70, 75, 76 in that area.
No shag carpeting.
Oh yeah, I actually put shag carpeting in my 73 Nova. It was neat.
A Nova?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had it was a 73 Ventura, which is basically a Nova with the front, the nose and the tail a little different. And then after I totaled that with a 327 that I built and put in it, I got a 72 Nova. And this is so funny because 72 Novas are cool. I got a 72 Nova from a neighbor down the road, $500 running. I didn't have to do anything to it.
Wow.
And of course, the first thing I did was I pulled out the 350 and put in the 327. And the Ventura was a standard transmission. It was a Muncie 4-speed, and whenever the 72 Nova had an automatic, so I just put the 327 in the automatic. So I was really cruising around having the automatic. I still like the standard better, but it was neat. And then did that one until I broke the main on the 327. I don't know how that happened. Something about high RPMs and jamming, doing things I shouldn't be doing.
That was just like my dad asking why the tires kept going bald on his Mustang that I drove. I don't know what happened. No, it's been Lisa, my sister, right?
Oh, of course. And then when the 327 went bye-bye, I pulled that 350 that was in a wheelbarrow, I think, and installed it in the Nova and stopped racing around. I mean, I still drove fast, but it wasn't the same thing with the high RPM, quick wrapping 327 that I had in there before. So a lot of fun. And I did a lot of things when I was young that I would be nervous about doing now. Doing engine changes, it was just something to do.
Well, let's face it, doing an engine change on something from the 70s versus something from today, completely different with all the electronics and the computer, and you have to get the reprogrammings and all this stuff.
That's very true.
It's not And plus, let's face it, on a 72, on anything, you could crawl inside the engine compartment. You didn't need to be contortionists.
Yeah, that engine was pretty small compared to the engine bay.
The frame, yeah. I mean, these days, trying to get in there and twist and get the right angle, and you have to have more tools that are specific to help you with those tasks, right?
Yeah, I think a resto mod of an 83 Chevy four-wheel drive pickup would be a lot of fun. Get a modern day steering anyway, as well. You know that the 83 pickup four-wheel drive was leaf springs front and rear, so it was set up a lot like a YJ.
Yeah.
So, and I think I'd keep it that way too. I don't think I would go with coils. Although long arms would be pretty cool too.
True. Agreed.
From the mind of Nicky G.
Hey, this is Nicky G, and I'm calling to tell you that I recently wrote a book about climbing stairs. Yeah, it's more of a step-by-step guide. That's funny, but I think I can do better. I recently took a poll. Yeah, I discovered that 100% of the people in the tent were very angry. And do you know what was better than the invention of the first telephone? The second telephone. Yeah. All right, boys and girls, I'll chat at you later. Have a good one. Bye. We're going to say it's been a slow year.
Nicky G, what can you say? It's always fun to get these, and it's twice a week. We get 2 Nicky G's every week. So if you're missing them, I don't know what to say. You must be skipping over them. Don't skip over it. You have to listen to the Nicky G's. And now that we're doing video, you got to watch them as well.
Always a surprise.
Sometimes they're show related.
Yeah, and Jeep related.
All right, Steve, you were telling me before we started recording that you read something about the Cherokee. Did we already go over? Or we didn't finish that because did we finish that? Because I think I interrupted you, which is unusual for me.
No, not at all. You know, the biggest thing they're claiming about the new models, it's got the more boxy appearance, right? Which is good. But as I alluded to earlier, I think that wheel well is going to be a very limiting factor. You're not going to see these in the off-road world. Now, I could be wrong. People are either going to love them or hate them. The front end's a lot better looking. It doesn't look like a Reebok tennis shoe, right? The angle on the windshield, though, is not like the original XJ. It's still more aerodynamic, which is what they're trying to achieve. But it'll be interesting. I think it's going to be a lot better seller than the, I don't even know what those things were called, the SJ. I
think you're right.
Right?
No, I think that was a 70s model Jeep. The one with the
KL.
Yeah,
the KL was the last one.
The one with the slanted headlights, which was always a horrible look in my mind.
There is some of that in this one. This to me reminds me more of a mini Grand Cherokee, right? But it's bigger than those.
We said it way back when. New listeners, new viewers. That's what we said whenever the new Cherokee came out. They should have called it a baby Grand Cherokee, because it looked a lot more like a Grand Cherokee than a Cherokee.
Yeah. So then when you go to AutoZone, they say, "Well, do you have a baby or a Grand?"
That's not my problem.
Now, I had a '98 Cherokee XJ. I loved that thing to death, but I was very young at the time, starting a family, and I didn't have the money to invest in it. Then the WJs came out, and I fell in love with my WJ as well. But it's one of those things. In hindsight, I wish I would have made it work while I kept it. I only had a 1-car garage at the time with 2 cars. You know, I was living in a townhouse. It was logistically, it was not feasible. But the thing about the XJs is the simplicity behind them, right? They're very much like Wranglers. You could tinker with them. You could modify them. The aftermarket was there or developing right at the time. Right. And even then, people were they were easy to fabricate for as well, for those guys out there that, like Larry, that do their own stuff. And so it'll be very interesting to see how this new, again, they don't have the letters out, it's going to be something L, I think, right?
Yeah, the new Cherokee.
They're going to, it'll be interesting to see what the aftermarket world does with it. I think a lot of it's going to be the actual off-road feasibility of it.
Right. Virtually nothing, I will predict. And I think they are making the vehicles now harder to modify. unless you get, I'll just say it, a real Jeep. To me, real Jeeps are easily modified.
And we'll see what Jeep Performance Parts puts behind it, right?
Well, they have to consider that as well because they're part of that aftermarket, part of that multi-billion-dollar aftermarket for Jeeps.
Is it going to be just, running boards and, fancy lights, or is it going to be an actual lift like they do with the JL and the JT? Time will tell.
Right. Well, fun conversation, Steve. And I probably shouldn't have said we're just going to have a chat that shows about nothing, because I think it was a great conversation. I think this is something people can get into, and we'd love to get your feedback on these things. And frankly, I'd love to see your comments on our YouTube for this video, telling me Tony doesn't interrupt. He doesn't talk enough. We want more Tony talking.
No, what was it in the Discord channel? Someone said you were interviewing the new Josh, and I think Larry said, "Oh, he seemed like a nice guy," and I said, "Yeah, we don't need anybody who's nice to Tony."
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all.
Right? Someone's going to call the bullshit.
I've actually mentioned this to a couple of applicants. Is that you need to feel free to tell me what you think.
Yeah, and tell them red Jeeps are crap.
Exactly. And then I can explain why it's not and why they're wrong.
Yeah.
That's just good podcasting.
Absolutely.
All right. So did this Jeep Talk Show episode get your engine roaring? Show us some love by dropping a 5-star rating and a blazing review on your go-to podcast platform. Unless you think I talk too much, then, this may be your last episode. It's your way to help us expand the Jeep family. Keep the adventure rolling by hitting follow on our social media and joining our newsletter crew for the hottest Jeep updates and unmissable events. Got a burning question or a wild idea for our next episode? Fire it over to us at jeeptalkshow.com/contact. And you know what? I've told several of the hosts, I don't have to be on every episode. And I'm actually encouraging the hosts to record their own episodes for Flagship or Chick Chat. We've been doing it on Chick Chat for a while. I wasn't involved other than recording it before, but now I'm not even recording it. We're using
really?
Yeah, we're using some software that allows them to record their own. They can have up to 5 people on the show. And then
they got tired of you dropping on them, huh?
Actually, I asked them to use it because that means I don't have to be there. All I have to do is edit the thing and publish it. So it's wonderful. And I've been not berating, but I've been encouraging Wendy and Larry to do the same thing, where they just pick a time, they record the episode, it shows up in the cloud, I download it to my computer, edit it, and put it out. I don't have to be there. So, and I love the idea of people running the show the way they think they should run the show. It doesn't have to be my format. So I think it just has a lot more opportunities for somebody to get something that they really enjoy, and it may be the right thing. I love changing the show up. I remember back when we first started making changes to improve the show, I was always nervous because we had a significant amount of listeners, and if you make a change, are you going to run everybody off? Yeah. So I love having guests on like yourself, Steve. I think it's fun.
You mean like New Coke?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Coke, you order Coke and say, is Pepsi okay? No, damn it, it's not. Don't make me come in there. I would get a Dr. Pepper, if it is. Oh, I love Dr. Pepper.
I'm not a doctor. I don't know why. Never been.
How about Mr. Pibb? You remember Mr. Pibb?
I do. And to me, that was a lot like Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, but it was really good, and it didn't have a excessive amount of carbonation. It was a lot smoother.
Well, I grew up on Royal Crown RC.
I've had some of those, but I don't think we had a lot. And I'll tell you, I'm older than you, and this may be the same for you, but maybe not. Getting a cold Coke in glass from one of those 50s era or 40s era Coke machines. Yeah. No, Coke machines. I mean, they were literally red and white. It said Coca-Cola on it, and you'd get the Coke out of there, and it was so cold, and it was I think it still had cocaine in it because it was so good, and it was just wonderful. And I mean, now you can buy Mexican Cokes because they don't use the high fructose or whatever. They use like the cane sugar. Yeah. And I can't really tell a difference. And it's in the glass bottles. I don't know if you kids know this or not. It tastes different stuff tastes different when it's in glass, because when it's in a plastic, some of that plastic stuff leaches into the liquid.
Beer, I do not like beer in a can. I have to either have it off the tap or in a glass. People, oh, it's the same. Yeah, no, it's not. Maybe after 5 of them, it's the same.
Just like the women. After 5 of them, you don't care which woman.
Geez, Tony.
It's like 2 a.m. Am I going home alone, or am I lowering my standards?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, thanks for cruising with us, and get ready for more thrilling journeys ahead. Steve, thank you so much.
Thank you, Tony.
Broadcasting since 2010.
You're my friend. You're my new friend.